Welcome, everybody. We're welcoming back Ross Benjamin, NFL football analyst, and we've been fired up for this wild card weekend. We've broken down a bunch of games in the videos, and I always enjoy Ross's breakdown. What we're going to talk about today is this Seattle-Minnesota game, the total, which I'm now seeing 39.5. This thing's, I know weather is playing a lot into this. What I've been told, it's going to be at 0 degrees. So, Ross, I'm anxious to hear your thoughts and your reasoning, or trends, should I say, in the movement with the total, and who you might possibly have a lean on, whether it be a total, a side, or what it may be.
Well, we're going to focus in on the total for this particular video. I'm seeing 39.5, a couple of 40s out there, Mike. And yeah, you're right. The weather does come into play. You'll never catch me talking about the weather in an NFL game. But, in this particular instance, there's an exception to every rule. The only reason I'm going to bring up the weather is quite simple. This total opened at 42 last Sunday evening, and now it's at 39.5 and 40. Normally, either a lot of sharp money has come in or a big move has happened with the general public where they've just pounded the under, which is highly unlikely because the general public has been known to go over the total, and that money usually comes in late. So having said that, I thoroughly believe this move, I should say, has been predicated on the weather, and it's been an adjustment made by the sports books. So now that we've got that out of the way, you got a Seattle team here, number 1 in the NFL in scoring defense. Minnesota, number 5 in scoring defense. Two very good defenses. They have met already. We have discussed this before on one of our prior videos, Mike. 38-7 Seattle win. That game barely went over the total of 43.5 on that Sunday in December. And thanks to a 101-yard kickoff return by Cordarrelle Patterson and a late field goal by Stephen Hauschka to put the game over the total. Otherwise, you had a Minnesota team that only gained 125 yards in that contest. I think we're going to see a better effort on the defensive side of the ball for Minnesota. I think that the running games need to get going, and I just don't see it happening in this contest. Marshawn Lynch is coming back. How effective he'll be will be another story. And, Seattle against the run is just absolutely outstanding. Number 1 in the NFL, allowing just 81 yards per contest. This is a Minnesota team, Mike, 5-1 under the total this season against winning teams, 9-2 under the total the last 2 seasons versus winning teams. And, you're looking at 2 head coaches that made their name on the defensive side of the ball, and Pete Carroll and Mike Zimmer. I'm going to have a small lean here on going under the total of 40 in this contest, Mike.
Okay, and that's interesting, and a lot of good points there, Ross. And, I have also found, and I'm not a huge as far as stat guy as far depending on my plays and stuff. I mean, I look at everything just as a general. But what I have noticed, when you get 2 really good defensive teams together and they get into the playoff situation, the whole scenario changes. I have found a lot of times those games go over, all right? And because that really, a lot of the trends just go right out the door when everything is on the line. And it's interesting to see how that will play out because you're right, 2 coaches that did make their name defensively, and they love it, they preach it. And Minnesota, especially with Zimmer, what he has done is phenomenal because a lot of people don't know, of course, Adrian Peterson's having a phenomenal season, but Teddy Bridgewater's arm is not what's winning them ball games. It's defense. So damn, you hit 2 other stats as far as number 1 and number 5, I believe it was, in defense, a takeaway, scoring defense. That's huge. That plays huge into totals. And sometimes those stats are overlooked and those trends are overlooked. But for me, at the end of the day, I kind of got to throw this thing out the window as far as stats and trends and go, what's my gut feeling telling me? What's the weather doing? And where's the psyche? I think also Minnesota's defense is going to play a whole lot different ball game, Ross. I really do. They learned from that loss. They sure did. And it was that win that really got Seattle heading the right direction and got that momentum flowing. Again, I know we're talking about totals, but the mindset of these players as they're coming in, the energy, that plays a lot into the total also. Weather for me would be the reason I would lean on the under. If the weather conditions weren't going to be what they are and it was more better conditions like it was 5 weeks ago, I would take the over simply because I think Minnesota's going to put something up.
Well,
And
let me stop you right there. And with all due respect, if the weather was like it was 5 weeks ago, the total would not be 40, my friend, or
yeah,
39
and
and a
this is
half. It
true,
would be more like
absolutely, and that
43
changes
and
everything.
43
But
and a half.
and of course, that's a common sense thing for me to understand that too as well, because that plays into the fact if I've got to get 5 or 6 more points on top of that because of weather, it can be done. Because these offenses can at times do what they need to do with the long ball. All right, I've
Well,
seen
sure. I mean,
Bridgewater
if
go
you
downfield. He's not consistent with it, but he's had some big breakaway plays, things of that nature. But I think your lean on an under, I think is more than safe. I think I actually like it. I really think, though, also, Ross, that as this game gets closer to kickoff, that might even go down another half a point. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, again, it's going to be pending on the weather. You know how the weather's unpredictable no matter what part of the country you're in. But I don't know, Mike. The bottom line is people watching on TV, general public betting, they always seem to favor the over. I see this staying pretty stable unless there's some swing in weather conditions. But right now, as we speak, game time temperatures are predicted to be around 4 degrees. Wind chill of -17. Mike, you haven't seen those type of temperatures since 1957. So, I mean, with all your travels around the Caribbean, so, hey, put yourself in that position playing. I don't care how grizzled you are. I don't care what kind of veteran you are, how tough you are. Playing football in 4-degree weather is going to affect you in some way, shape, or form. And usually that's on the offensive side of the ball. You don't win in the playoffs unless you could run the ball and play defense. And, I just got a feeling here this game is going to be one of those 13-10, 16-10 contests. And you did bring up a good point. I mean, both of these teams have the capability offensively of putting up points. Look at Seattle scored 29 points or more in 7 of their last 8 games,
Yeah.
yet they went under the total in their last 4. That shows you how well they're playing on the defensive side of the ball, Mike.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And as you're speaking, this just kind of came to light to me, and it makes really good sense. You said Minnesota's defense is going to do a better job, and you're right. And the fact now that I look at that number and do like the under is because I think they're capable of stepping up and playing better and not allowing anywhere near 38 points to Seattle, because they're capable of that. They're that good of a defense. The change that I don't think will happen is that Minnesota's offense is going to start scoring a bunch of points. I could see maybe 10, something like that. But I see for sure Minnesota can step up their game defensively to keep that lower. But I don't think Minnesota offensively will change anything with that number as far as pushing it up. So I think that's a good point to look at also. And again, that's why they play the game. Wind conditions will play into that as well, for the passing game. But Russell Wilson's going to be a dangerous weapon with this weather no matter what.
Oh yeah, I mean he can beat you with his legs and his arm. And the bottom line here is we got a Minnesota defense. It's also recorded 43 sacks this season, and Seattle had an awful time protecting Russell Wilson early on in the year. But boy, that's really turned around over the last 8 games or so, Mike.
Yes, it has. And listen, Ross, I hate to cut you off, but we're on a different time schedule here, and I got a big bash I'm going to. It's a pre-wild card weekend bash here in Costa Rica. There's a lot of
Mike, your whole life is a party. Holy
buddy,
cow!
it's been amazing.
When I grow up, I want to be you.
Hey, and I'm going to come in tomorrow, and I'm going to pump out some more videos and Sunday as well, because it's not work for me. I love what I do. Am I great? Am I perfect? Hell no. But I try to get better every day, and I'm going to put up some good numbers just like you are. Ross, have a great weekend and profit and beat the book and beat them hard this weekend, okay?
Thank you for having me, Mike.